Insider from the Insiders, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. with Kyle Matson here on ESPN 1320. Our main man, James Ham. How big of a issue were free throws for you on Friday, James?
Yeah, I think it's something that got kind of just rolled up in a bad night. You know, like it wasn't until you really looked at the box score after the game and Mike started talking about it that I started thinking about it, because I think all of us were so caught off guard by the Monk injury and just the way that, again, the Kings just couldn't close the door. They had an opportunity to tie it. Harrison misses. They turned the ball over. All of those things happen, and you don't really have time to process everything. But yeah, I mean, this is why you don't want to be in the play-in, because you're the Kings and they aren't. They have Luca, or they have LeBron, or they have Steph, and you don't. And so the league, for whatever reason, they like to call games that way. And, again, it was Bill Kennedy. Bill Kennedy's usually a pretty solid referee. At least he's good at telling us, what Mike Brown did wrong with his challenge, and knows how to enunciate and talk into a microphone like all the other officials don't know how to do. But
Plus, you're a tough guy. Just relax. Like, you don't need to flex on the scores table.
I'm okay with it.
All right, settle down.
I'm okay with
Get
it.
the call right instead of getting your curls right.
Yeah.
I like it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I enjoy Bill Kennedy games, but look, you can't just look at the fouls and think that it's okay, and think that it's going to be any different. So, I mean, that's the problem. This is something that Kings have always had to deal with, and they're going to continue to deal with it until they're the top dog and the officials have to look the other way. But even then, we saw what that looked like back in 2002, and it didn't work out for the Kings then either.
Well, as you mentioned, a lot went on Friday. Nothing bigger. Obviously, the loss sucks. It's a punch in the gut for sure. But nothing is impactful as the fact that Malik Monk's season, for the most part, almost certainly is over. I know, Sean and the guys that were at practice today talked to Mike a little bit about that. We've tried to lay out scenarios here today, James, about what it looks like without Malik Monk. For you, big game tomorrow against the Clippers, and every game is going to have big game attached to it. What does this need to look like for Sacramento now that they've lost at least 25 points at the shooting guard position? And I always try to put the caveat on that. They've lost 25 points at the shooting guard position with a possibility for 50. And
yeah,
what does this look like for them beginning tomorrow night? Or it started last night, but
yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, Keon Ellis is a guy who, I thought he had a great game. And he finished with 5 points, 8 rebounds, like a steal, 2 blocks, a couple of assists, right? That's a great game. And you're going to need him to find ways to score 12 or 13 points. But you also need him to be sort of that jack of all trades guy. I think getting Trey Lyles back is tremendous for the Kings. I think getting Sasha Vezenkov back, it means something different now to get Sasha Vezenkov back than it did, a couple of games ago, because I wasn't all that concerned with him playing down the stretch. But all of a sudden, you need scoring, and again, we keep talking about this. The Kings are like 36-5 when they score 120 or more. Like, they're almost unbeatable, and they put up 127 on a bad Utah team, and I don't think they can do that on a regular without Malik. So my first thing is that De'Aaron Fox needs to snap out of his slumber. Like, De'Aaron Fox is a star, and we saw that the whole first half of the season. But over his last, I don't know what it is, 12 games or 16 games, something like that, he's averaging 22 a game. And he's only had one game over 30 in the last, I don't know, 10 or 12. And that can't really be who the Kings are from here on out. Like, you just lost the ability for Monk to not be a 30-point per game scorer. I think that's step one. Step two is Keegan Murray just has to be everything that everyone thinks he's going to be. And he's got to be it now. And there's no more excuses like, hey, De'Aaron's rolling, so I don't have to be that guy. Or hey, Malik's now rolling. I don't have to be that guy. Like you have to be that guy, and you have to be that guy every night. There's no more excuses. There's no more time to waste. If your team is gonna somehow survive the next 8 games and make it to the playoffs or make it into the play-in, um, Keegan has to average 20 plus a night, and it's kind of the situation they're in. It's just it's a tough go, and you didn't expect something like this to hit them like repeatedly. You get 2 guys back and you lose 2, but the 2 you lose, like their impact on the floor is pretty extreme, especially Malik.
Yeah, Damian laid it out perfectly. I mean, you lost anywhere on any given night between 25 to 50 points out of your
Yeah.
lineup. Like that's crazy, man. I agree with you, Ham. Keegan Murray is the guy I'm looking at. Well, first and foremost, I take that back. I'm looking at Fox and Sabonis to be all NBA caliber players the way we have seen them be for the last 2 years and expect them to play. But when you talk about outside help outside of those two, I'm looking at Keegan, man. And I think he's got the ability to step his game up and play at a higher level. And I think it's paramount for this team for him to step his game up. Then we talk about, I agree with you, 19 to 21 points a night in these final 8 games from him has to be what you get. But I want to see 17 to 20 field goal attempts every single night. Last night, I think he got to 18. He ended up having 25 points, but that's it. Like, you got to put him up. You got to put him up. And I believe he's up to the task. Then he's up to the challenge, but we won't know till after this 8 games.
Yeah, I mean it's like the trial by fire thing, right? And I think for Keegan, it's one thing to like there are no more excuses. There's no more reasons why you can't be that guy. But just looking it up, Fox over his last 12 games, 22.9 points, 5.9 assists. He's averaging 6.3 boards, 2.4 steals. So that stuff is good. Shooting 85% from the free throw line and 36.3 from 3, but only 42.1 from the field, and he's not getting to the free throw line all that much, only 4.5 times a game. That's, I think, the biggest thing where, De'Aaron has the potential to make up for almost Monk by himself. Like if he's going to be averaging 20, if he's averaging 23 right now, and you've been hanging out right around 500 since the break, maybe a little over, a couple of games over. But if that's where he's been now, like you need him to find that other gear that we know is there. We know it's there, and like whatever you got to do to find it, you got to do it. So, but again, I think it all plays into one large conversation. It's losing Kevin Herter, regardless of how bad he's shooting or how off his season was, is still a big blow for this team. It still opens up more space for De'Aaron Fox. Replacing him with Keon Ellis does not replace that spacing, even if Keon is hitting the 3. And that's why all of a sudden we're seeing Keegan run the DHO that we normally see from Herter, and trying to round that corner like Herter does to try to create that space that they were getting from him. And that's okay. I mean, Keon can be a corner 3 guy. For some reason, Keegan can't shoot the corner 3. I don't know what the problem is there. He's really struggled this year from the corner. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but if Will Z's, out there in the universe, I'm sure he can come up with them. But, they need to figure out a way to replace all of these points from these players they're missing without missing a beat. And, again, nobody's going to cry for you. Teams like the Cavs have been without Donovan Mitchell, like for quarter of the season or more. We always joke around about how all the guys on the Suns aren't eligible for all NBA outside of Durant. And maybe Booker will get there. But that means they're missing games, and the Kings haven't. So now we get to see what they look like when they face the adversity that other teams have.
Real quick, wasn't that, I'm trying to remember back to some of our previous conversations this year, but wasn't that like the issue with Herter's slow start, even Harrison, is that Keegan was getting all those DHO plays? And I think Keegan was playing well, I think, at the beginning of the season. And like we were trying to figure out what was going on, and we were like, well, hey, all those DHOs that Herter was getting last year, they fed that to Keegan. And it seems like they fell back off that throughout the season. And we kind of saw Keegan's production fall back a little bit. And I guess hearing you say that, James, it reminded me, all right, time to ramp that back up. Time to get him back in that position to be the primary guy that they do the DHO off of.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, Keegan didn't have a good start to the season. He just kept running them, and he couldn't shoot at all early on in the season, and he's still not shooting the lights out like he did last year. He did yesterday, but it kind of just reminds you of how good of a shooter he is. Like again, 36%, 36 point something percent on the season. That's well below what he's going to shoot for his career. And he needs to get back into what he was doing for sure, start running those same options for sure. But we almost had that moment in the season where the Kings lost and Harrison Barnes shot like twice, right? And then they had that meeting and they had a practice where they had like a lot of conversation between the team and the coaching staff. And next thing you know, Harrison Barnes steps right back into his old role, starts scoring a bunch of points, and we're like, hey, look, Harrison got fixed. And so I think
15 points per game since then, Hammer.
Yeah, it's imperative that both Keegan and Harrison step up in this moment. I even asked him about it last night. I asked Harrison about it. Just, is it time for you've kind of taken a back seat over the last, this season compared to what we've seen in the past. And he kind of deflected it to, yeah, everybody's got to step up. Everybody's got to have a bigger role. It's like, okay, yeah, everybody, but like I can't expect Kessler Edwards to average 9 points a game. I can't expect Keon Ellis to bump it up to 14 points per game. I can't ask Chris Duarte to figure out whatever's gone wrong with Chris Duarte and all of a sudden be like super viable again. Or for Sasha Vazenkov, who averages, 5.5 points a game on the season, to all of a sudden be something that he's never been at the NBA level. It's like, it's on you. You're the guy who's averaged 20 a game. You're the guy who averaged 15 last year, 15 the year before that. It's got to fall on the guys who have the experience to do it, and it's got to fall on the core four of Fox, Sabonis, Herter. Barnes and Murray. It's kind of the way it's got to go.
Okay. Well, I'll catch heat for this, but I feel like between the two of you, you named every player on the roster except for one.
Davion?
No, we can't ask Domas to score more.
Well,
no.
I said Fox and Sabonis need to step up and play like
Yeah.
the all NBA players we perceive them to be. They've got to improve their games first.
Okay.
I was talking outside of those two.
Oh, okay.
No, and I'm with you, Dame. Over the last, I don't know what it is, 6, 7, 8 games, he's averaging 14 points a game. Like that's not enough, and I think a lot of it is you just wore the dude out. You relied on him all season long, and then all of a sudden, we have this whole streak that's added stress to it.
Hey, well, eat some spinach, kid, because this is the most important time of the year. And if you're wore out, hey, I take this drink called Amino Energy. I'll bring that over for you. Some BCAAs, like we'll go to cryotherapy together, like whatever you want to do. But not yet. Not yet. You gotta have a cheat day or something. They say it doesn't eat carbs. Have a cheat day. Go get a pizza.
I have cheat days. A lot of them.
Would that be a cheat day?
Yeah, In-N-Out would be a cheat
tribal
day.
chief will bring you one.
Yeah, in fact, facts. He absolutely will. He's a big Domas guy.
I think you're right. We're talking about like one of their best scores that they have. Just one of the most efficient scores that they have. And a guy that we've relied on for so many points, for so much all season. But over his last 7 games, he's only broke 20 points once, and he's only had 17 or more twice. He's really not been super effective as a scorer. And like, look, it's game on, man. You have no more time to like look around. And there's people asked earlier, hey, can they bring someone up from the G League? Can they sign somebody? They can't. They can't sign anybody. They've got 15 guys on the roster, and even you've got Jones there. He's only got like 8 games left that he can play, or maybe 7 games left that he can suit up. And then he's not eligible in the playoffs. Like they're There literally is no way to bring someone else in the door unless you waive somebody. And I don't see the Kings waiving, Kessler Edwards or Colby Jones or, um, I don't know, JaVale McGee. I just don't see it. So this is who you got, and somebody's got to step up and take on some of this the workload now that Malik is gone.
Speaking of Malik being gone, we've kind of talked about that and what that means for his future with Sacramento. Have we seen him play his last game as a King? And James, I know you've gone over it a number of different times, but I mean, just for anybody checking in, what are these options that the Kings can do? What are we looking at as far as what they can offer? What does that look like? How high can they get up on the offer ladder?
Yeah, it's virtually impossible for the Kings to clear cap space to sign him into pure cap space. And what that would mean is that they would drop, say the Kings drop 30 million under the cap to offer Malik money. Like to get there, they're already without Malik on the roster for next season, they're roughly 10 million over the cap. So you'd have to cut that 10 million, and then you would have to, in addition to that, cut like another 30 to offer him 30. And even that you wouldn't be able to because that 30 million, you're still going to have like minimum roster cap holds of $1 million a piece. And so you might, if you were able to shave that, go down to that 30 million mark, and that's basically just giving away $40 million in salary for next season. Even in that scenario, you could probably offer him like 25 or 26 million a year. And so that's not feasible. That there's no way for the Kings to do that. That's giving away Harrison Barnes. It's giving away Kevin Herter. We start stacking up here and getting nothing back, taking nothing back. So you have to find teams that would be willing to do that, which means you're probably going to have to give up assets in order to do that. And then on top of that, you'd probably have to, either Duarte or Davion or maybe both to get you enough cap space in order to sign Malik with just pure cap space. And when you do that, you have to renounce your rights to things like the mid-level exception and the biannual exception. So not only are you clearing cap space but you don't even get your exceptions. So the best of all possible worlds for the Kings is if they can get him to take the early bird exception, which would pay him 175% of his current salary, which means they could start his salary for year one at 17.4 million bucks and give him up to 4 years, but no fewer than 2. And I think that's going to be the gray area. If it were Malik signing at a 1-year deal, so then he had his full Larry Bird rights and they could exceed the cap to sign him, then I think that it would be an easier sell than it is today because the early bird exception is mandatory 2 years. So he would have to sign up basically for a 2-year, or he might get like a 4-year contract, but at 78 million, but with a player option after 2 years. So he could opt out and then, sign a longer term deal. So it's a bit messy. If you could talk him into taking, I don't know what it is. It's probably 38 million over 2 years. It's good money, but I think that there's going to be someone who comes in and gives him much more. And then it's going to come down to what Monk does, what he feels like in his heart is the best move for him and his family and his long-term whatever. And I don't fault him. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. The Kings should have signed him to a 3-year deal. He might not have wanted a 3-year deal, so I'm not going to put it all on him or all on the Kings because we don't know how that contract worked out. But if they would have had a third year on this contract that he's currently in, he would have had full Larry Bird rights and they would have been able to exceed the cap and sign him for however much they want up to the maximum for his years of service.
Hammer, we've talked, and understandably and rightfully so, a lot about Malik and what this injury means for him in the offseason. But what about Kevin Herter? He's out for the year too. He's going through, an off season where he's not going to be working on his game. He's going to have to rehab. There was obviously speculation all year dating back to training camp how much Mike truly values Kevin Herter on this team, and he wound up being, for the most part, a year-long starter, but with certainly some hiccups. Like, he's averaging 5 less points per game this year than he did last year, and it was just a brutal end to what couldn't have, it couldn't have been a more frustrating season for Kevin Herter. And now you have this wrinkle of an injury. He's with the Sacramento Kings under contract for 2 more years, but we know what run it back looks like. And Monty's got to figure out ways to get this team better. It was long thought that, maybe working a deal with Herter and some other guys could be that way. Is that still the case, or would you put your money on Kevin Herter starting the season next year with Sacramento?
Yeah, so it's going to be really tough. Like, I would have put that at a very low chance before the injury. And now with the injury, I just don't know. I mean, I would like to tell you that, that his value out there on the market is going to be high, and that you can go out and still trade him. But we're talking about a guy who is undergoing shoulder surgery. He's out like a minimum of 4 months without being able to do anything. And I mean, it is just the start of April. So we're talking about April, May, June, July. He might be back on a practice court in August. But it's also a possibility it's a 4 to 6 month heal time, and we don't know how long it's going to take. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Kings still shopped him this summer. But clearly he's got diminished value because of the injury, because of his season. But he's still a young player, and so many players have come back from injuries like this one and had very, very successful careers. It's not like, even like, he didn't blow an Achilles, he didn't tear an ACL. It's his non-shooting hand. Like, all of these things matter when you're talking about this type of injury. And so, I mean, I could see him back next season because the Kings just didn't find a deal that made sense to them. I could also see him back because they don't have a better option. But I also think that because the injury and the sort of the time frame here for healing up, like, there's still potential for them to move him this summer. And I think teams understand who Kevin is and what he brings to the table. He's still very valuable. And like I've said a million times, if you put Kevin Herter in a lineup that wasn't alongside Harrison Barnes, or Harrison Barnes that wasn't in a lineup alongside Kevin Herter, I think you could really find like a pretty strong defensive tandem there, with if you just had one of them. But the fact that you have two of them that are limited in length and athleticism, it really does hurt you at the 2-3 position, which are two of the most important positions in the league for on the defensive side of the ball.
Amber, how you feeling about this team, man, after everything that took place over the weekend, man? Like, do you still feel like they have a shot at 6, at winning a play-in and playing in the playoffs, or did a lot of your belief go out the window when Malik Monk went down?
No, I don't think it went out the window. I was really looking forward to this team with Keon and Trey Lyles on it. I was looking forward to that moment where we got to see these two together with Malik still there. I thought that would be interesting because he just, small ball 5, the only true power forward really they have on the roster. That's, a 6'8", 6'9" bruiser that can play the power spot. Again, Keegan and Harrison and even Sasha, they can all play the power spot, but they're not true power forwards at this point. So yeah, I'm kind of bummed out because I was looking forward to that moment where Trey stepped back on the court and you got to test some of these theories that we've had about, the defensive, how this team would look defensively with a change in the lineup. At this point, look, you got to be realistic and know that it's a huge blow to lose Malik Monk. But I also look at some of the stats that we've talked about, De'Aaron's stats, Demonis's stats, like the possibility of what Keegan Murray can be, the fact that, really Harrison Barnes slow played the whole season. Now, if you can gear these guys back up and you still have a decently strong rotation to work with, you might be able to get through. I don't know. I don't know if I'm talking like get to the playoffs, get to like a really strong first round matchup. But I also don't want to diminish what Malik Monk means to this team and how well he's played all year long. And, if you could just extend this thing out a little bit, if you can get it to, game 2, game 3 of a first round playoff series, you never know. Malik might be able to make it back by then. And I think that that's something that this team, that might motivate them. Like it might be in the back of their mind. Like, look, the play-in's going to eat a few days. It does. And if you can get through the play-in, or if you can avoid the play-in somehow, then can you just stretch it out a little bit longer when, playoff games are every 2 days or so in the first round. There's just a lot of games and they're all spaced out. Maybe you won't play the whole first round without him. And that's where I would kind of like pin my hopes, if you will, that maybe Malik could come back and save you.
Well, a little quick math, real quick. We talked about it last week. The Warriors Kings situation was 3 weeks. There was a week where there were no games. The series took 2 weeks, and
it actually feels like it took 4. But you're right.
You look at this situation. There's 2 weeks left in the season, and say you have a 7-game series against somebody in the first round. If he could get back, 4 weeks would be like game 5 or something like that. So
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, game 3, game 4, maybe game 5. It just depends on how his body responds.
Honestly, having a game 3, 4, 5 would just be so like fantastic.
We'd be so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be mad when they lose, but having a 3, 4, 5, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll come back. We'll talk more Kings basketball with James Ham when D'Lo and Casey return here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Clear. Hammer in 4K today.
Uh-oh. Am I?
Yeah.
Huh.
We
keep gaining people.
Yeah,
I don't know what's
they're here for you, James.
That's it. Huh?
It's just wild. I don't understand what's going on there with the X, but I'm not gonna.
I don't care. Give us the views.
Not gonna argue with it.
Give me the views. Give me the views. I'm a bad.
Yeah, Brian Goodner. There's I don't think there is an excuse. Like he has to demand that he gets the ball and that he's part of it. And Mike has said it repeatedly. Like, you got to go tell a guy, hey man, I need to go get a couple of shots. And you need to push a Harrison Barnes or Kevin Herter to the corner, and you go take the DHOs at the top. Like, you can't just like only get what the game, like what comes to you in the flow of a game. You have to actually go out and try. And what I've seen over the last couple of games is exactly that. Like, Keegan looks like a different player over the last couple of games. It's like, hey, that's what you need to see. So, I don't know.
It's a good question. What's James' thoughts on the WrestleMania card?
I have no idea. Sorry, Peg.
All right.
Aceberg, what up, though?
Aceberg need to come hang out. Didn't Aceberg come out for like a day once?
He did.
Came to watch the
game.
Was it Brooklyn? And then just left?
Yeah. Well, he wasn't like so disgusted that he left.
Well, no, but like he was just here for a day and he like left. Yeah.
Did you guys either one of you go to the game yesterday?
No. No, I had Easter.
I hear myself a little bit. I don't know what that is. Maybe Jesse hears that.
Easter, and then
yeah, I don't hear anything.
I keep hearing like a reverb. Like, not all the time, it's on occasion.
That's weird. Guess you can't look nice and sound nice in the same day. But I don't know what it is.
Me and Aceberger the inventors, the creators of the Iron Man weekend, where we meet up. Usually we meet up like in Vegas. 72 hours. I mean, what? 4 or 5 hours of sleep total. That's what it is.
Just to be
It's a
clear,
sprint.
for sure. No one has done that before you.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not even the guys on
Vegas, New York, Atlanta. It don't matter where we're at. If we're only linked up for 2-3 days,
don't
nobody want to hear about no sleep.
Okay.
Nobody want to hear about that. Oh man, I gotta go to sleep. Ain't nobody hearing that.
Okay.
Russell Hunt,
hours,
Monk's
get no more than
injury
6
does
hours.
not need surgery. He does not need surgery. Most MCL tears don't need surgery or MCL sprains.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess that his sprain is a higher grade than Trey Lyles' sprain. But we don't know. Yeah, Amos, the team did not announce the grade of Monk's sprain. Nope. Oh, I was going to ask, you guys didn't go to the game, so you guys missed a halftime show.
No, what happened at halftime?
They had a really interesting halftime show for.
Was it the guy? Was it the guy with the bow and arrow and knives?
No.
We watched that guy on League Pass. Like, what the hell is this?
He was on Wob's timeline, like I said he was.
No, they had they had the Bello sisters come out. And you guys probably should just look up the Bello sisters, which I think for a Friday night would have been perfectly amazing. But the Bello sisters on Hello Kitty Day, which was also Easter, which meant that you had a lot of kids in the crowd.
At least it wasn't sucker free. I ain't sugar free.
It was a little risque for a family day.
Is this the gymnastics deal?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see.
Parents bring their kids' eyes.
Hang on. I'll maintain this is still not stranger than what Kenny and I watched on. It was Charlotte versus Golden State. It was in Charlotte. The halftime show was the guy throwing knives at a woman, and then he shot a bow and arrow to like pop a bubble that
backwards.
She was. Yeah, it was concerning on a lot of levels.
That was the craziest
and it got so
thing
bad I turned the sound up because I was like, I need to know if the crowd pops for this. And they did not.
They were just
I
terrified.
think they were mortified. They were mortified.
Yeah. So I mean, this is close though. I mean,
it's
the Bello sisters.
that's.
You can look them up. They were on America's Got Talent, and I'm not saying they're not.
They're not saying they don't have talent.
It would have been rowdy on Friday. You said it probably would have been. It would have been rowdy.
Might have been. Yeah.
Maybe that's my only. Yeah. Yes, Amos. That's how you spell it. Yep.
Two quick things.
I got one too after this
because I don't want them to get lost.
Are we back?
This we are back. Yeah, we're on the air. Sorry, James. We're back. We're on the
Someone
air.
needs to tell me these things.
I thought I did. I'm sorry. This doesn't carry over till tomorrow. LeBron James scored 40 last night, and he did it on 9 of 10 from 3.
Man,
you hear what I said?
Cooking.
That man shot 9 of 10 from 3 and scored 40 last night.
Cooking.
Passing that along.
That was big time. Thing that bothered me all weekend long, and I actually demand that it gets fixed. I really do. No, hear me out. Hear me and hear me good.
Oh.
Go back to the way the Nets were at the Golden One Center before this weekend. They're awful right now. They're too short. They're stiff.
They are.
It's nasty, and it's distracting. Get back to a little longer net. Fix it.
Come on, man.
What?
It's
You didn't even see the play. You weren't even watching that play.
It's stiff, it's nasty, it's distracting.
I heard it. He blew the whistle. That's a flag. That's a flag. It's a 10-yard penalty. Hold.
Wow.
They are the John Stockton shorts of nets.
Goodness gracious, man. You know what? I think I saw you tweet about it, and the basket that the Kings were shooting on in the third, it like all of a sudden it was like, all right, someone fix this.
That's the one.
That one was really bothering me. It was like
yeah.
someone well, at least the 3-point line was the right
Well,
size.
how does that happen? How does
Mm.
that happen?
Anyways.
Okay, so this is one of those those like most people don't know this. From what I've been told, the nets are pulled down each and every game, and they are packaged like almost like what's a freezer bag, like the air where you it's
Ziploc bag.
Ziploc.
no, but it takes the air out like
like storage bags when you
yes.
vacuum the air out of it or something.
They're like vacuum sealed. Every net, and they are labeled. And there's a room somewhere that has every net from every game ever. That the nets are brand new every single game.
That seems excessive. And they need to go back into the storage room and find some ones that they had before and put those back up there. That brand or whatever the case may be, because these are ridiculous.
Yeah, March 31st versus the Jazz. Those nets are forgettable. You can use those again or get rid of them. Like, they're fine.
That's excessive.
There's nothing to keep those for, guys. It's okay.
That's just as excessive as Jordan wearing a new shoe every game.
Well,
at least I can understand that. I don't know why I need a new net every game. You can change it out once a week, but every game.
Mike's literally never broken in a pair of shoes, and the Kings have never broken in a net.
No, I mean, I think that's like league wide. So,
okay,
I mean, the ones the other night looks like someone put them in the dryer. Like,
Bizarre.
don't put the net in the dryer. Like, no, it'll
How about
shrink.
don't take them down? Why do they need to be? Why don't they need to come off the rim? Anyway, whatever brand they used before this past weekend, go back to that brand, because those two were nasty. It must have been a Temu net that they got.
Well,
Maybe they're trying to get the opposing team not to shoot 45% from three in their home gym. I don't know.
Did it work? Might have worked.
Well,
I don't think it worked.
I don't think it did.
I know the Jazz didn't shoot 45% from three.
Oh, it was just Sunday?
No, the Friday was nasty too, though. But I don't think the Mavericks did either.
I think Friday, it was. I think it was heightened for you because you were there on Friday. I'm just trying to envision Kenny sitting in his courtside seat staring at the nets.
Oh, it definitely wasn't there.
Can you imagine sitting courtside so long? You know what the nets look like,
right? For us,
Kenny's out there with the measuring stick. Like,
it was me and
these
Kevin
do
John
not seem regulation.
Wow, they didn't seem regulation. And the Mavs shot 42%, so maybe it did work.
James, how was Players on Saturday?
Oh, we had a great time. Drew Down came
out there.
and visited. We had all kinds of people out. It was really cool. We actually we had a family come in, and that's who went and got a Hello Kitty bag for Kyle and brought it to the station today. So Kyle actually got one of the coveted Hello Kitty bags for his wife. But yeah, we had a good time. You know, Joe did a great job with doing all of the promotion stuff. Charlie showed up. Yeah, we had a good crew of people. Yeah, it was good stuff.
We're going to be out at Tom's Watch Bar for the national championship 1 week from today.
Yeah.
All three of us will be there.
Maybe Jake will come, or John. Excuse me.
Jake and John can sit their ass at home. UConn gonna be in that game, so if Jake wants to come through, man, he definitely can, because I think UConn gonna be in that game. Okay, well, I'm glad that went well. I'm excited for Tom's Watch Bar next Monday.
Yeah, me too.
For the national championship game. Were you surprised, Hammer, that Chris Duarte didn't really play last night? Like, he got in the game because it was a blowout. I thought for sure you were gonna have to. play Chris Duarte yesterday, and Mike didn't. Were you surprised by that? Do you think that's a game-to-game thing, or is just Duarte
Okay.
out of favor with Mike Brown right now?
No, I think what happened realistically was that Mike went to Kessler Edwards against Luca and somehow struck gold. Like, I don't think anyone, number one, no one expected him to hit 3 threes, right? Kessler. But the way he defended Luca was bonkers. I mean, he blocked him or like diverted his shot like 4 times. And I thought he was so tremendous. And what you can't do is ask a kid to go out there and defend Luka Doncic and, go all out when you have an injury. Have him show up and hit 3 threes and do all this other stuff and then not play him the next night. You got to reward it when you have clearly holes in your rotation. So I think Mike walked into that game with the idea that, Kessler had earned at least a little bit of a look. And then when you needed offense in the second half, he went to Sasha instead because he was looking for a little bit more size than Duarte. So yeah, I'm not. You're gonna need Chris Duarte down the stretch here, and we always talk about the things that happen when a game is over that actually matter. The how Keon Ellis earned his way into the rotation the first time was by coming in the Rockets game and like scoring 12 points or 14 points in like the late third and early fourth quarter. I'm going to point to Duarte hitting a clean 3 in sort of in junk time against Utah as kind of a big deal. Whatever had happened, Duarte, he for like 3 games he couldn't shoot at all, and maybe that's what you need to get him going. You need just one clean 3-point shot in a game to make him like kind of bubble up and get his confidence again. But I think you're going to need Duarte. He's the most logical answer to fill some of the scoring woes that you have without Malik.
Yeah, I remember that shot because I was hoping Mason Jones would take the shot. I wanted to see my boy Mason shoot, man. He can get a shot up.
Has he scored yet this year?
Maybe. I don't recall.
I don't know if
he scored. Mason had 2 threes in the Dallas game. Not the Dallas game. The game before they got out of hand. It was a blowout.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Who beat up? Oh, they beat
Dallas.
up Philly.
You're talking about the Dallas. The game that got blown out by Dallas. Oh,
he said the game before that. That was Philly. They beat up Philly.
Yeah, okay. I might have just forgotten about the other Dallas game. So it's very possible.
Oh, you mean the first?
Yeah,
Dallas
it was
game.
against Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah, Mason played 5 minutes and 29 seconds, 2 for 3. Yeah, 6 points.
That boy Mason Jones be putting up numbers in the G League.
He's not.
I've never. He's like damn near Luka in the G League. He be having like 29, 9 and 9. I'm like, what?
He scored last night and I missed it.
What?
He did.
He scored last night. I was watching that whole game.
Oh no, Kobe Jones scored last night. Not Mason.
Yeah, Kobe did.
I was like, shoot it.
Kobe had a nice baseline jumper. Yeah, it was nice.
He did. Yeah.
So I mean, I was surprised that Duarte didn't get a look. But you bring up a good point, Ham. I mean, I thought Kessler, and that's what made Friday night so frustrating because guys stepped up in that game. De'Aaron and Domas weren't great, but Keon played really well. Obviously, Harrison played really well. Kessler, in a pinch, because he wasn't probably expecting to play at all that night, came in and hit those threes. And, it seemed like they were in control of that game and they were playing well. And out of nowhere, a 10-point lead went to a tie game. And then you just were in a tussle the rest of the way. And that was just tough. You were around everybody after that game and then yesterday as well. Did that feel like a gut punch to them on Friday night? And did they recover maybe by Sunday?
I think everyone was pretty bummed out after Friday's game. And it was an accumulation. It was not only did you blow your opportunity to kind of jump into the top 6 and kind of hold your spot, stake your claim. But also, the Monk injury, just it rattles everybody because he's just, the light in the room. And when you lose that, I mean, it doesn't matter how much he's yelling and screaming on the sidelines once he gets to that point, because I don't think he did that last night. But and like there could be a bunch of reasons why. I think I heard someone say that Kevin Herter, somebody knew somebody who got on a plane and Kevin Herter was flying to LA yesterday, which is probably to have shoulder surgery. But both Kevin and Malik, from what I know, weren't on the bench. And Malik just hurt his knee. I don't think you want him sitting courtside yet. So that's probably why he wasn't sitting right there. But like I just think it was an overall like such a downer. And the funny part is they're still right there with Dallas, and Dallas doesn't have a tiebreaker over them. They're tied. And well, I mean, Dallas has like a half a game lead in their conference record. That's it. Like the Kings could easily overtake Dallas. Although if you look at Dallas's schedule, Dallas could get up to number 4 in this whole ordeal here because their schedule is trash. And that's where it becomes kind of like convoluted because the Pelicans have the tiebreaker over the Kings. So they're 2 games up on the Kings right now. Same with Dallas. You could track down Dallas. You could track down the Pelicans, but you have to pass the Pelicans in order to get in above them. And that's going to be difficult.
Past the Pelicans. Yeah, no. No. It does like we pointed these out like months ago and thought, yeah, probably, might not mean anything by the time we get there. Now all of a sudden I just keep seeing that Phoenix game. Like, okay, things would have to go really south for Sacramento or Phoenix for that game, the second to last of the season.
Yeah.
To not mean anything. Like that game is going to mean something.
It's going to be huge.
Home court in that game.
It could be the 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Hell, it could still be for 6.
Yeah. No, I agree. So,
I thought when these two teams last played, they'll play a 5th game, but it's the second to last game of the season. It probably ain't going to mean nothing. Yeah, no, it is.
Well, the worst part is you had a 20-point lead with 8 minutes left or whatever it was. And if you would have won, that game though, you would have won the season series.
No one asked that, James.
3-1 over, done.
Thanks.
You know what we didn't really like the true. I know there's so much happened on Friday. The Kings were playing so well. Like it felt like the Kings. I don't want to say that like they were in control of the game, but they were playing really well. They look like they've got this. And then over like a 3-minute period, it like disappeared. And then in the final 2-3 minute period, they couldn't score, and it all went to hell. And 41, 42 minutes of bordering on great basketball was gone.
Yeah. Well, and I think some of the reason why that happens is Dallas spent the entire night trying to slow down De'Aaron Fox. And then when the Kings typically are used to De'Aaron Fox taking over, Dallas had worked really hard to slow him down. And they had, I don't want to say that they, figured him out, but like they were playing him tough. And it's if he's your closer and Malik's not there, you can have trouble in those situations. And that's why having the dueling point guards actually works so well for the Kings, because you can't take De'Aaron away every single play. And that's kind of felt like what Dallas, they were able to do late. They were able to at least slow down De'Aaron a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's it's going to be one of those guys like a Davion. Davion, this is probably it's not a starting opportunity, but it's an opportunity to be in a bigger role, and this is probably something he's been waiting for 3 years. An opportunity to show who he is in this league. And nobody's saying you've got to be Malik Monk, but we all look at Davion Mitchell and think, hey, you can be a guy in this league that's a third guard, or somebody that can be in this league a long time because you know how to play and how to be effective at a high level. You're just not being used right, or it's not a good combination for you with Sacramento. Well, now you get that opportunity. 8 games playing, maybe playoffs, like you get an opportunity to show. And we'll see if he's ready. We'll see if he's ready for it. I think he will be, but this is an opportunity for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the NBA is about taking advantage of opportunities when they come, right? And I would say like Davion played major minutes his rookie season when De'Aaron Fox was out, and he actually played really well. And the way he's played recently at least gives me some sort of like, okay, like look, he's figured it out. He's figured out how to be impactful for this team. But remember back, he averaged 11 and a half points a game as a rookie. Like, that's another place where you could possibly find 5 or 6 extra points per game right now without Monk. And again, I think Davion play on the offensive end has been extremely good. Like
Mhm.
he's attacked the rim. He started to use his body to keep players away from him when he's going to the basket. He's got the ball handling skills have increased. We watched him totally shake somebody, I think, in the Dallas game, just totally shook somebody. And he's hitting his 3-point shots. He's hitting his mid range shots. Like he could be one of the difference makers down the stretch here for this team.
Yeah, they're going to need a couple of them.
Yes.
Davion,
Yes.
Keegan, Harrison, and Keon. Keon is still, I still love, Keon. It's just, I'm always fearful of teams kind of looking at Keon like, nah, we don't need to do anything on this end of the floor. He ain't going to do nothing. And then he does, and it's like, all right, do it again. Do it again. Because you're going to get that opportunity. Are you comfortable? And we always think, guys shooting shots and making them, and how do defenses respond? Sometimes I think teams will look at a player like Keon and go, he's not going to shoot the ball 12 times a game.
Right. That's how I would defend.
And that's how right. And those are that's Kevin Huerter will shoot 12 times a game. Malik will shoot 12 times a day. That's where I wonder, and that's where I told you was watching the first half yesterday. Is this just what the Kings offense is now? Like, they're going to have to win games instead of, as James points out, with 120, they're going to have to win with 110.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know how many games you can win 110.
No, and they showed last night they can
still
get
do
hot.
it.
They can go. Yeah, they can still do it. It's just you need a lot of things to go your way. We got a couple of minutes left. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Keegan and HB, man. That's gonna be. Those are the guys I'm looking at. Obviously, the two guys, Fox and Sabonis, upping their game.
I agree.
Keegan and HB.
Can I throw Trey?
Yeah.
If we rank them, I'll throw Trey third. But I feel like Trey off the bench, he has the opportunity to be like a really scary scorer. Not like Malik. No one can do what he does, and he doesn't play like Malik does. But I thought Trey Lyles had just a great impact in the game last night, and was a reminder of what we've been missing. I think Mark pointed out his shot wasn't really falling a lot before he got hurt, and now it's like, okay, he's out there, he looks comfortable. It's going to be there for him if he wants it, because those shots are available. So I'd put him in the super important category too.
Yeah, it's just, do they have somebody who can create for others on with the second unit? And that's going to be the question.
Davion.
Yeah, well, that and it's got to be Monk and Sabonis not playing together for long stretches. It just has to be that way. Yeah. Fox. Sorry. Yeah, Fox and Sabonis. Fox is going to have to, be the distributor he was last night, where he had 12 assists. But Sabonis is going to have to take turns when he's off the court. Yeah, it's tough.
Jesse's telling us we have to end the show. We appreciate you so much for being with